The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers stretched high above the assembled delegates, its walls reflecting the light of distant stars. Admiral Zekthara of the Korthani Empire stood at the central podium, his 4 eyes gleaming with what could only be described as barely contained amusement. His scaled hands held a data tablet that contained the most ridiculous piece of intelligence his forces had gathered in decades. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "I bring news that will surely brighten your day. The humans have issued us an ultimatum." A ripple of confused murmurs swept through the assembled representatives. Councillor Vexarine of the Crystalline Zephyrite tilted her translucent head, her musical voice chiming with curiosity. "The humans, the species that achieved faster than light travel, only 50 years ago." "The very same," Zekthara replied, his amusement now openly visible. "They demand we cease all operations in their territory within 30 days, or face the consequences." The chamber fell silent for exactly 3 seconds before erupting in laughter that echoed off the crystal walls. General Crix of the militant hegemony pounded his armored fist against his seat, his mechanical voice box crackling with electronic mirth. Consequences. What consequences could they possibly threaten us with? In the far corner of the chamber, relegated to the section reserved for minor species, Captain Jake Morrison sat with his jaw clenched tight. His uniform bore the simple blue and white insignia of the Terran Defense Force, a symbol that had earned him nothing but condescending smiles since his arrival. Beside him, Commander Lisa Park maintained the careful diplomatic composure that had been drilled into her during 3 years of xenocultural training. But her knuckles were white where they gripped her briefcase. They had delivered humanity's message 3 days ago, standing before this same assembly with as much dignity as they could muster. Morrison had read the statement in clear, measured tones while the alien delegates whispered among themselves like adults humoring children at play. The human colonies at the edge of known space were being raided systematically, their populations taken for forced labor or worse. 17 settlements had gone dark in the past 6 months. Earth's government had tried diplomatic channels first, trade negotiations second, and now had resorted to this final warning. Their largest warship, continued Admiral Zekthara, consulting his tablet with theatrical precision, masses approximately 2 million tons. For comparison, my personal escort vessel masses 3 million tons. This prompted another wave of laughter from the assembled delegates. Ambassador Thylix of the Voidwalkers, whose species had mastered space warfare when humans were still discovering fire, stood on his 6 spindly legs and addressed the chamber. "Perhaps we should send a single frigate to accept their surrender when they realize their mistake. Why waste the fuel?" Called out Senator Corinth of the Trade Federation. "Let them posture and make their empty threats. When they grow tired of playing war, they will return to buying our technology like proper client species." Commander Park leaned close to Morrison and whispered, "Sir, should we respond to these comments?" Her training had prepared her for alien arrogance, but experiencing it firsthand was testing her professional limits. Morrison shook his head slightly. His orders were clear: deliver the ultimatum, observe the response, and report back. Nothing more. He watched as the delegates continued their mockery, each trying to outdo the others in their dismissal of human capabilities. What none of them knew was that his mission here was only half of a much larger operation. While they laughed, other human representatives were taking careful note of fleet positions, defensive capabilities, and communication protocols. "Admiral." Zekthara raised his hand for silence and the laughter gradually died down. "In all seriousness, colleagues, this does present us with an interesting question. How should we respond to this declaration of war?" He emphasized the last 3 words as if they were the punchline to a joke. "Ignore them completely," suggested Counselor Vexarine. "They seek attention like younglings acting out. Give them none and they will cease their tantrums." "I disagree," rumbled General Crix. We should make an example of them. Destroy a few of their outer colonies, to remind them of their place in the galactic order. That would be wasteful, interjected Senator Corinth. Those colonies produce rare minerals that fetch good prices in our markets. Better to increase our harvesting operations and show them the futility of resistance through economic pressure. The debate continued for another hour while Morrison and Park sat in silence, enduring the casual discussion of their species' fate as if they were not present. Each delegate seemed to view humanity as a minor inconvenience rather than a potential threat. Their confidence was absolute, and their dismissal complete. Finally, Admiral Zekthara called for a formal vote, all in favor of ignoring the human ultimatum and continuing operations as normal. Nearly every hand, claw, and appendage in the chamber rose in agreement. The motion carries unanimously. Let the record show that the Galactic Council finds the human threat assessment to be negligible. As the session ended and delegates began filing out of the chamber, many paused to look at the human representatives with expressions ranging from pity to amusement. Ambassador Thylex stopped directly in front of their seats and looked down at Morrison with his cluster of compound eyes. "Young species," he said in his whistling voice, "you would do well to remember that the galaxy is vast, and your place in it is small. Return to your leaders and tell them to be grateful for the opportunities we provide. Many species would gladly take your place." Morrison stood slowly, his height putting him nearly eye level with the much taller alien. "I'll be sure to deliver your message, Ambassador, along with our own." As the humans made their way out of the chamber, the remaining delegates continued their jovial conversation about the afternoon's entertainment. None of them noticed the small recording devices that Morrison and Park had placed throughout the chamber during their 3-day stay. None of them suspected that their casual dismissal of human capabilities had just been transmitted across space to a waiting fleet. Behind Neptune's orbit, Admiral Steve Carter received the transmission and allowed himself a cold smile. The aliens had reacted exactly as predicted. Their arrogance would be their downfall, and humanity's patience was about to be rewarded. The joke, as they would soon discover, was on them. The Terran Defense Command Center buzzed with quiet activity deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Steve Carter stood before a holographic display that showed the entire outer rim of human space, each point of light representing either a colony, a patrol route, or something far more significant. The room's walls were lined with screens showing data streams from across dozens of star systems, but Carter's attention was focused on the central display where red markers indicated alien fleet positions. "Report, General," Carter said as Amy Rodriguez approached with a data pad in her hand. General Rodriguez had spent the last 5 years building the most sophisticated intelligence network in human history. Her agents operated deep within alien territory, posing as traders, refugees, and even slaves. "Our people confirm the Council's response was exactly as predicted, sir." Complete dismissal with a side of mockery. Captain Morrison and Commander Park are en route home with full recordings of the session. Carter nodded, his weathered face showing no surprise. "And our assets in their military structure, still in place, and still feeding them false information. As far as their intelligence services know, our entire fleet consists of 12 ships, mostly outdated designs based on technology we purchased from them 20 years ago." The irony was not lost on Carter. Humanity had indeed purchased alien technology in their early years of space exploration, but not for the reasons the aliens assumed. Every piece of equipment, every technical manual, every casual conversation with alien engineers had been carefully studied and reverse-engineered. What the Galactic Council saw as a sign of human inferiority was actually the foundation of their greatest strength. "Show me the Shadow Fleet status," Carter requested. The holographic display shifted, and suddenly the empty space around them came alive with hundreds of new markers. Hidden behind asteroids, lurking in the dark between star systems, and concealed within nebular clouds, 300 human warships waited in perfect silence. These vessels bore no resemblance to the crude designs the aliens had observed, sleek, powerful, and equipped with weapons that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. They represented 20 years of secret development. Dr. Nina Walsh joined them at the display, her xenobiology expertise having proven invaluable in understanding their enemies. The psychological profiles remain consistent across all observed species, Admiral. Every one of them shares the same fatal flaw. They cannot conceive of a technologically inferior species developing superior solutions. Explain, Carter said, though he had heard this briefing many times before. They think in terms of hierarchies, Walsh continued. To them, technological advancement follows a predictable path. They see our older ships and assume our newer ones are only marginally better. The concept that we might have leapfrogged their entire developmental curve is literally incomprehensible to them. Engineer Carl Jensen looked up from his workstation where streams of data flowed across multiple screens. His zero-point energy breakthrough had changed everything for humanity, providing power sources that dwarfed anything the aliens possessed. The new reactor systems are performing beyond expectations, Admiral. We're generating 40% more power than our original projections. This excess power fed weapons systems that would have seemed like magic to the aliens who had dismissed humanity so casually. Plasma cannons that could burn through any known armor. Kinetic weapons that achieved velocities approaching light speed. And most terrifying of all, quantum disruptors that could cause matter to simply cease existing. What about Project Mockingbird? Carter asked. General Rodriguez smiled grimly. Our agents have been busy. Every time their scouts observe our ships, we make sure they see exactly what we want them to see. Crude weapons firing, systems overloading, emergency repairs being made. They're convinced our technology is held together with determination and luck. The deception went deeper than mere visual tricks. Human engineers had developed entire systems designed to look primitive, while actually serving crucial functions. What appeared to be patch repairs were actually sophisticated armor improvements. Weapons that seemed to malfunction were actually operating at reduced power to maintain the illusion of inferiority. Lieutenant Ryan Brooks entered the command center, his uniform bearing the insignia of the Intelligence Division. Sir, we have confirmation from all observation posts. The alien fleets have not altered their defensive positions. They're maintaining standard patrols with minimal force deployment. This was exactly what Carter had hoped to hear. The aliens were so convinced of human weakness that they hadn't bothered to reinforce their borders. Their patrol fleets operated on routine schedules, their commanders bored with what they saw as pointless duty assignments. None of them suspected that human scouts had been mapping their routes for months. Tactical assessment? Carter asked. Major Alex Turner stepped forward from where he had been studying troop deployment charts. His special forces had been training for scenarios the alien military had never encountered. Their ground forces are completely unprepared for asymmetric warfare, sir. They expect traditional formation battles with clear objectives. Our intelligence suggests they've never faced an enemy that refuses to follow conventional rules of engagement. This was humanity's greatest advantage and most carefully guarded secret, while the aliens had spent millennia perfecting their military doctrines. Humans had learned warfare in the harshest school possible, against each other. Every trick, every innovation, every desperate tactic developed during centuries of human conflict was now being turned against an enemy that had never faced such creativity. Communications. Carter called to another station. Communications Officer Kate Miller looked up from her array of equipment. All stealth networks are operational, Admiral. The quantum encryption is holding perfectly. Even if they intercept our signals, they'll just register as cosmic background radiation. The communication system was another marvel of human innovation. while the aliens relied on faster-than-light transmissions that could be detected and intercepted. Humanity had developed quantum-entangled communication networks that were both instantaneous and completely undetectable. Time frame for operation. Iron Curtain. Carter asked. All units report ready for immediate deployment. General Rodriguez replied. The moment you give the word, we can begin coordinated strikes across 17 systems simultaneously. Carter studied the display one more time, watching the alien patrol routes that his people had memorized down to the minute. In 3 hours, Captain Morrison and Commander Park would return from their humiliating diplomatic mission. In 6 hours, the alien commanders would be settling in for another routine night of patrol duty. And in 8 hours, humanity would remind the galaxy that the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. Gentlemen, ladies, Carter said to the assembled officers, in 72 hours, the Galactic Council will discover that humanity's declaration of war was not a joke. They will learn that while they were laughing at us, we were preparing for them, and they will understand that the greatest mistake a predator can make is assuming their prey cannot fight back. The command center fell silent, except for the quiet hum of computers and the distant sound of ships launching from hidden bays throughout the solar system. The Shadow Fleet was about to cast off its shadows and step into the light of war. Commander Zach Vell lounged in his command chair aboard the Corthoni battlecruiser Dominance, watching the stars drift by through the main viewport. His patrol fleet of 12 ships had been cruising through this sector for 3 weeks without encountering anything more exciting than a few asteroid miners. The duty was boring but easy. Exactly the kind of assignment given to commanders who needed to rebuild their reputations after minor failures. Status report. He called lazily to his bridge crew. All systems normal, Commander, replied his tactical officer. Sensors show clear space in all directions. The next scheduled communication check is in 4 hours. Zach Vell nodded and returned, his attention to the report he was reading about the humans and their laughable declaration of war. The intelligence briefings had been circulating through the fleet for days, providing endless entertainment for board crews. His own ship could single-handedly destroy every human vessel in existence, according to the projections. Commander, his communications officer suddenly called out, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures at the edge of sensor range. Probably a pulsar or some other stellar phenomenon, Zach Vell replied without looking up from his tablet. Log it and continue monitoring. What his sensors had detected was actually the UES Retribution dropping out of faster-than-light travel, followed by 7 other human warships. Captain Ben Taylor stood on the bridge of his vessel, studying the tactical display that showed the alien patrol fleet spread out in a loose formation, 3 million kilometers ahead. Confirm target identification, Taylor ordered. Positive identification on all 12 vessels, sir, his tactical officer reported. Standard Corthony patrol formation, no apparent awareness of our presence, signaled the fleet. Execute operation. First light on my mark. Taylor had volunteered for this mission specifically because of what these particular ships had done. The Dominance and her escorts had been responsible for the raid on New Geneva Colony 2 months ago. 3,000 human civilians had been taken, and intelligence suggested they were now working as slave labor in Corthony mining operations. All ships report ready, Captain, Mark. Space around the alien patrol fleet suddenly came alive with weapons fire that seemed to materialize from nowhere. The human ships had approached using stealth technology that rendered them invisible to alien sensors until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. Plasma beams lanced out from their positions, striking alien vessels before their crews even realized they were under attack. Commander Zach Vell was thrown from his chair as the first salvo struck his ship's shields. Alarms screamed throughout the bridge, while his crew scrambled to their stations. Report, what's happening? Unknown vessels attacking from multiple vectors, his tactical officer shouted over the noise. I count 8 ships using weapon types not in our database. 8 ships. Zachvel struggled back to his feet as another barrage shook the vessel. That's impossible. Human ships can't penetrate our shields. But even as he spoke, he could see the shield strength indicators dropping rapidly under the sustained assault. The human plasma cannons were operating at frequencies specifically designed to disrupt Corthony's shield harmonics. A weakness that had been discovered through careful study of captured alien technology. Captain Taylor watched the battle unfold on his tactical display with grim satisfaction. Target their communication arrays first. I don't want any of them calling for help until we're ready. The human ships moved with precision that would have impressed military observers if any had been present to witness it. Each vessel had a specific role and target, and they executed their assignments with mechanical efficiency. The aliens found themselves unable to coordinate their defense as their communications were systematically destroyed. Sir, the lead ship is attempting to broadcast a distress signal, reported Lieutenant Brooks from his position at the sensor station. Negative. Jam all frequencies and continue the attack. The battle was unlike anything the aliens had experienced in generations of warfare. Human tactics were based on principles they had never encountered. Overwhelming firepower applied with surgical precision, rapid repositioning to avoid return fire, and the complete abandonment of traditional formation fighting. Commander Zach watched in horror as his escort ships were destroyed one by one. The human weapons seemed impossibly powerful, punching through armor that should have been impervious to anything a young species could produce. How is this possible? He demanded. Of no one in particular. His tactical officer looked up from his console with fear in his 4 eyes. Commander, their weapons are generating power signatures beyond our theoretical maximums, and their ships are moving faster than our targeting computers can track. The Dominants shuddered under another concentrated barrage, and Zachvel realized, with growing panic, that his mighty battlecruiser was actually losing the fight. Retreat. Order all surviving ships to retreat immediately. But only 3 vessels remained operational, and the humans had positioned themselves to block all escape routes. The alien ships found themselves trapped in a carefully orchestrated killing field with no way out. Captain Taylor opened a communication channel to the surviving alien ships when Commander Zachvel's image appeared on his screen. The alien looked nothing like the confident predator who had raided human colonies. Instead, he saw fear and confusion in those alien features. Commander Zachvel, of the Cortoni Empire. Taylor said in perfectly pronounced alien language. You are responsible for the attack on New Geneva Colony and the enslavement of 3,000 human civilians. How do you know my name? Zachvel stammered. We know many things about you, Commander. We know about your raids, your slave operations, and your complete contempt for human life. Today, that ends. Wait, Zachvel pleaded as he saw human weapons powering up for another barrage. We can negotiate. The Council will pay compensation for any misunderstandings. There has been no misunderstanding, Taylor replied coldly. You attacked our colonies because you thought we were weak. You enslaved our people because you thought we couldn't fight back. You were wrong on both counts. The final barrage from the human fleet was swift and decisive. The remaining alien ships were destroyed in seconds, their hulls torn apart by weapons they had never imagined possible. Only 1 vessel was allowed to escape, a small scout ship that Taylor deliberately let slip through his formation. Sir, should we pursue the survivor? His tactical officer asked. No, let them run. I want them to carry word back to their superiors about what happened here. As the human ships prepared to jump to their next target, Captain Taylor recorded his after-action report. Operation First Light completed successfully. Enemy patrol fleet destroyed with 0 human casualties. Moving to Phase 2 targets as scheduled. The lone surviving alien scout ship fled toward Corthoni space, its crew traumatized by what they had witnessed. They carried with them sensor recordings of weapons that shouldn't exist, and tactics that defied all military logic. Within hours, their report would reach Admiral Zek Thara, and the laughter in the Galactic Council chambers would finally stop in 12 other star systems. Similar scenes were playing out as human strike forces implemented their coordinated assault. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's declaration of war had not been a joke at all. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Admiral Zek Thara stood at the central podium, his usual composure completely shattered as he read from a series of reports that seemed impossible to believe. The same chamber that had echoed with laughter just days before now buzzed with worried whispers and panicked conversations. 17 systems attacked simultaneously, Zek Thara announced, his voice shaking with rage and disbelief. 43 ships destroyed, including the entire 7th Patrol Fleet. The humans are using weapons and tactics that our intelligence services insist do not exist. Counselor Vexery's crystalline form flickered with agitation. This cannot be accurate. Our projections showed they possessed no significant military capability. Tell that to Commander Zach Vell, General Crix interjected grimly. He was the only survivor from his battle group. The recording he brought back shows human ships that move faster than our targeting systems can track, and weapons that punch through our shields, like they were decorative lighting. Ambassador Thylex clicked his mandibles nervously. There must be an explanation. Perhaps they have acquired technology from another species. From whom? Zek Thara demanded. Every major power is represented in this council. None of us would sell such advanced weapons to a primitive species. The debate raged for hours while reports continued to stream in from across the galaxy. Human forces had struck with precision and coordination that spoke of careful planning and superior intelligence. They had targeted patrol fleets, supply convoys, and communication relays, systematically dismantling the outer edges of the alien sphere of influence. I propose immediate military retaliation, General Crix declared, pounding his armored fist on his podium. We assemble an overwhelming force and crush this rebellion before it spreads. Senator Corinth nodded in agreement. The other client species are watching this situation carefully. If we appear weak, they may get similar ideas about challenging our authority. How large a force do you propose? Asked Counselor Vexery. 50 dreadnoughts and supporting vessels, Crix replied confidently. No species in galactic history has withstood such firepower. We will end this human fantasy once and for all. The motion passed unanimously, though several delegates seemed less certain than they had been a week earlier. Within hours, the mightiest military force assembled in recent memory began moving toward human space. Admiral Steve Carter received word of the alien fleet movement while standing on the bridge of the UES Liberation, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Commander Lisa Park, recently promoted after her intelligence mission to the Council, stood beside him studying the tactical displays. They're bringing everything they have, Park reported. 50 capital ships, twice as many escorts, and support vessels from 6 different species. Total enemy force, approximately 200 ships. Exactly as predicted, Carter replied calmly. Dr. Walsh was right about their psychology. When faced with an unexpected threat, their response is to apply overwhelming conventional force. Sir, with respect, that is overwhelming force. Our entire fleet only numbers 300 ships. Carter smiled grimly. Commander, you're still thinking like they do. Numbers only matter if you fight the kind of war they expect. The Battle of Centauri Gate would later be studied in military academies across the galaxy as the moment warfare itself changed forever. The alien fleet arrived in perfect formation, their dreadnoughts arranged in a battle line that had dominated galactic conflicts for centuries. They expected to find human ships waiting in similar formation, ready for a conventional engagement. Instead, they found empty space. Where are they? Demanded Admiral Korthvex, the alien fleet commander. Sensors show no significant vessels in this system. Sir, his tactical officer replied nervously, I'm detecting scattered energy signatures throughout the asteroid field and nebula region, but nothing large enough to be a warship. Launch fighter squadrons to investigate. These humans cannot hide from us forever. What the aliens discovered was that humanity had revolutionized the very concept of space warfare. Instead of massive ships designed to survive enemy fire, humans had developed swarm tactics using hundreds of small, fast vessels. Each craft carried weapons powerful enough to threaten capital ships, while being too small and numerous to target effectively. Captain Ben Taylor led the first wave from his new command, a sleek destroyer that massed less than 1/10 of an alien dreadnought but packed firepower that would have seemed impossible by conventional physics. All units execute pattern Delta on my mark. The human ships emerged from their concealment like a swarm of angry hornets. They came from asteroid fields, nebular clouds, and the shadows of planets, converging on the alien formation from dozens of different angles. The aliens found their traditional battle line useless against an enemy that refused to present a unified target. Impossible, Admiral Korthvex shouted as his tactical display lit up with hundreds of human contacts. How can so many ships hide from our sensors? Engineer Carl Jensen's innovations had made this possible. Human stealth technology didn't just hide their ships from sensors. It made them effectively invisible until the moment they chose to attack. Combined with their superior speed and maneuverability, this gave them tactical advantages that no alien commander had ever faced. The battle became a nightmare for the alien forces. Their massive dreadnoughts, designed to exchange fire with similar vessels, found themselves surrounded by fast-moving targets that struck and vanished before return fire could be brought to bear. Human gravitational mines, Jensen's latest masterpiece, trapped several capital ships and localized space distortions that prevented them from maneuvering. Lieutenant Ryan Brooks, now commanding the scout vessel Wraith, coordinated the battle from within the enemy formation itself. His ship was so small and stealthy that it moved undetected among the alien vessels, providing real-time intelligence that allowed human forces to exploit every tactical weakness. Sir, the alien flagship is attempting to withdraw, Brooks reported, over the quantum communication network. Negative, Carter replied from his position aboard the Liberation. No one leaves until we're finished here. The human fleet demonstrated capabilities that defied every assumption about space warfare. Their ships moved in three-dimensional formations that constantly shifted and reformed. Their weapons fired in coordinated salvos that overwhelmed alien defenses through precise timing rather than brute force. Most importantly, they fought with a flexibility and creativity that traditional military doctrine could not counter. Admiral, the alien tactical officer, called out in panic. We've lost over 60% of our force. Remaining ships are taking critical damage. Admiral Korthvex stared at his tactical display in shock. The mighty force that had been assembled to crush human resistance was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that shouldn't have been able to challenge a single alien dreadnought. Signal full retreat, he ordered. Sir, the humans have our withdrawal routes blocked. They're not allowing anyone to escape. For the first time in his career, Admiral Korthvex understood what it meant to be completely outmatched. The humans weren't just winning the battle. They were demonstrating that everything the Galactic Council knew about warfare was obsolete. When the Battle of Centauri Gate ended 6 hours later, only a handful of alien ships survived to carry word back to the Council. The rest lay scattered across the system as debris and expanding gas clouds. The human fleet, meanwhile, had suffered minimal casualties, while proving that they could defeat any conventional force the galaxy could assemble. Captain Taylor recorded his final report as the human ships prepared to move to their next objectives. Battle of Centauri Gate concluded. Enemy force destroyed. Recommend proceeding to Phase 3 operations as scheduled. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted permanently, though the aliens would need several more defeats before they fully understood what had happened. The Galactic Council chambers had never hosted a session like this one. Emergency lighting cast harsh shadows across the crystal dome as delegates, who had once dismissed humanity with casual laughter, now debated the terms of their own survival. Admiral Zekthara stood at the podium, but his posture showed none of the arrogance he had displayed weeks earlier. "The situation is beyond critical," he announced to the assembled representatives. "Human forces have taken control of 40 systems. Our combined fleets have been reduced by 80%. 3 major trade routes are completely under their control." Counselor Vexarine's crystalline form had dimmed to a pale flicker. "How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated they had no significant military capacity." "Our intelligence was wrong," General Crix admitted through gritted teeth. "These humans have been preparing for this war for decades, while we dismissed them as primitives. Every piece of technology we sold them, every casual conversation about our military capabilities, every display of our fleet formations was being studied and analyzed." Senator Corinth stood shakily on his 4 legs. "What are our options?" "Limited," Zekthora replied grimly. "We can attempt to negotiate a peace treaty, or we can make one final assault on their homeworld. If we can destroy Earth, they may be forced to surrender." Ambassador Thylex clicked his mandibles in disagreement. "After what we've seen of their tactical capabilities, do we really believe a direct assault on their most heavily defended system would succeed, where all our other efforts have failed?" "It's our only remaining option," General Crix insisted. "We gather every surviving ship from every member species, over 1,000 vessels in a single overwhelming strike. Even humans cannot withstand such numbers." The debate continued for hours, but pride and desperation eventually won over caution. The decision was made to launch the largest military operation in galactic history, targeting humanity's homeworld in a final bid to end the war through overwhelming force. Admiral Steve Carter received intelligence about the alien fleet buildup while reviewing battle reports in his command center. Dr. Nina Walsh joined him at the tactical display, her xenobiological expertise having proven invaluable throughout the conflict. "They're committing everything they have left," she observed. "Over 1,000 ships from dozens of different species. It's exactly the response I predicted they would make when faced with existential threat." "And our preparations?" Carter asked. "Complete," replied Major Alex Turner, now promoted to colonel after his special forces had successfully captured 3 alien research stations. "Every human ship is in position, and Operation Thunderstrike is ready for implementation." Carter nodded as he studied the defensive arrangements that had taken months to prepare. The aliens were about to learn that attacking humanity's home system was the worst mistake they could possibly make. The alien armada arrived at the edge of the solar system in the largest fleet formation ever assembled. Admiral Korthvex, one of the few surviving alien commanders from previous battles, led the massive force with grim determination. He had studied every human tactic, every weapon system they had revealed, and believed that sheer numbers would finally overcome their technological advantages. "Sensors detect human fleet formations near Jupiter," his tactical officer reported. "Approximately 300 ships in defensive positions." "As expected," Korthvex replied. "They're using their home system's natural obstacles as defensive positions. Launch all fighter squadrons and begin the attack." What happened next would be remembered as the moment the old galactic order died forever. The human defenders did not retreat behind Jupiter's gravity well as expected. Instead, they activated weapon systems that had been disguised as mining operations and research stations throughout the solar system. Saturn's rings erupted with missile launches that had been building velocity for months. Jupiter's moons revealed gun platforms that opened fire with devastating precision. Even Earth's seemingly peaceful moon unleashed weapons that had been hidden beneath fake mining installations. But the greatest shock came from the human ground forces led by Colonel Turner. His soldiers, enhanced with alien genetic modifications, reverse-engineered from captured research, boarded enemy ships using tactics that no alien military had ever encountered. They moved through ship corridors like apex predators, their earthy reflexes and enhanced physiology, making them unstoppable in close combat. "Impossible," Admiral Korthvex whispered as he watched his forces being systematically destroyed. "How can they move so fast in our ship environments?" Dr. Walsh's research had revealed the crucial weakness that sealed the aliens' fate. Every species in the Galactic Council had evolved on worlds with lower gravity than Earth. Their military vessels were designed with corridors and chambers that accommodated their physiological requirements. When humans entered these spaces, they moved with speed and strength that seemed superhuman to their opponents. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the flagship UES Determination, coordinated the defense from his position near Earth. The battle that followed was not the prolonged engagement the aliens had expected. It was a systematic extermination that demonstrated the complete obsolescence of traditional galactic warfare. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "enemy fleet strength down to 20% and falling. Remaining vessels are attempting to retreat." "Negative," Morrison replied. "No one leaves this system alive. We end this today." The final phase of the battle lasted less than 4 hours. When it was over, the combined might of the Galactic Council lay scattered across the solar system as debris and expanding plasma clouds. Only a handful of alien ships survived, and these only because Morrison specifically allowed them to escape. "Record this message for transmission to the Galactic Council," Morrison ordered. From Admiral Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Force to the surviving members of the Galactic Council. "Your war fleet has been destroyed. Your military power is broken. The time for negotiation has arrived, and this time you will listen." 6 months later, the same crystal chamber that had once echoed with mocking laughter hosted very different proceedings. The Galactic Council convened under circumstances none of them had ever imagined possible. Admiral Steve Carter sat at what had previously been designated the minor species table, now positioned at the center of the chamber. The surviving alien delegates arranged themselves around him in positions that reflected the new balance of power. "The terms are simple," Carter announced, his voice carrying easily through the now quiet chamber. "Complete cessation of all slave raids on any human territory. Full reparations for damages inflicted during your attacks on our colonies. Recognition of humanity as a sovereign power with equal status in galactic affairs." Admiral Zexara, his once proud bearing, now subdued, nodded reluctantly. "The Korthani Empire accepts these terms." One by one, the other delegates voiced their agreement. They had no choice. Their fleets were destroyed, their military capability shattered, and their confidence in their own superiority permanently broken. Councillor Vexarine's voice chimed with resignation. "How did we fail to see what you were capable of?" Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, stood to address the assembly. "You made the same mistake that predators throughout the galaxy have made for millions of years. You assumed that because we were new to space travel, we were primitive. You forgot that Earth is a world where evolution never stopped, where survival required constant adaptation and innovation." Dr. Nina Walsh stepped forward to add her analysis. "Every species in this chamber evolved on worlds that were relatively peaceful compared to Earth. You developed technology to overcome environmental challenges, but you never faced the kind of pressure that forces rapid evolutionary adaptation. Humans evolved in competition with thousands of other intelligent species, most of which are now extinct because we outlasted them. But your technology," Senator Kornth protested weakly, "you were decades behind our capabilities." "Engineer Carl," Jensen smiled grimly, "we were behind in the technologies you chose to share with us. But you never understood that humans don't just copy existing solutions, we improve them." Every piece of equipment you sold us was reverse engineered, analyzed, and enhanced. Your plasma weapons became our plasma cannons. Your shield technology became our stealth systems. Your faster-than-light drives became our quantum communication networks. Ambassador Thylex clicked his mandibles nervously. What happens now? Will you conquer the galaxy as we tried to conquer you? Admiral Carter shook his head. Humans have no interest in ruling over other species. We want only what we've always wanted, the right to exist in peace and the freedom to explore the galaxy without interference. Abide by the treaty terms, and you'll find us to be fair neighbors. Violate them, and you'll discover that what you've seen so far was merely a demonstration. The formal treaty signing took place under heavy security, with human warships stationed throughout the system. As the delegates affixed their signatures to the document that would reshape galactic politics, many of them struggled to understand how completely their world had changed. General Crix's mechanical voice box, crackling with static, asked the question that haunted them all. How long have you been planning this war? Since the moment we first encountered your species, Admiral Carter replied honestly. We hoped it would never be necessary, but we prepared for the possibility that peaceful coexistence might not be possible. Every diplomatic contact, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange was also an intelligence-gathering operation. Colonel Turner added his perspective from his position near the chamber's entrance. You taught us everything we needed to know about your capabilities and weaknesses. Your arrogance made you careless with information that should have been classified. Your dismissive attitude toward our questions made you answer them completely. The treaty ceremony concluded with Admiral Carter delivering a final statement that would be remembered throughout galactic history. For too long, this galaxy has been ruled by species who believed that might made right, that technological superiority justified oppression. Today, that age ends. Humanity offers a different path: cooperation based on mutual respect, trade based on fair exchange, and peace based on the understanding that all intelligent species have the right to determine their own destiny. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many casting nervous glances at the human representatives, Admiral Morrison remained behind with his senior staff. The weight of what they had accomplished was beginning to settle on all of them. Sir, Commander, Park asked quietly, what if they try to rebuild their fleets and challenge us again? They won't, Dr. Walsh replied confidently. The psychological impact of their defeat will prevent any unified military action for generations. More importantly, other species throughout the galaxy will be watching. They've seen that the old order can be challenged successfully. Admiral Carter nodded as he looked around the chamber that had once been used to mock humanity's weakness. The galaxy is about to become a very different place. The age of predator species dominating their neighbors is over. We've shown that intelligence, creativity, and determination can overcome any technological advantage. The human delegation departed from the council chambers to find their ships waiting in formation around the station. The sight of the sleek vessels that had revolutionized galactic warfare drew stares from alien civilians, who were still processing the magnitude of recent events as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth. Admiral Carter reflected on the long journey that had brought them to this moment, from a species dismissed as primitive to the newest galactic superpower. Humanity had proven that the most dangerous enemy is always the one you underestimate. The joke, as the Galactic Council had learned too late, had been on them all along.